Hey friends, let's dig deeper into something shaping everything from your headlines to your wallet: the Western overcorrection. That cultural snapback reflex where societies don't just adjust, they swing so hard in the opposite direction that the swing becomes its own crisis. And whether you live inside the West or far outside it, those swings hit you all the same. For decades, Western institutions positioned themselves as the blueprint for stability: economic leadership, moral leadership, political leadership. But leadership requires consistency. And what we got instead was a sort of cultural bipolarity, a tendency to run so far in one direction that the return journey becomes a sprint fueled by guilt, embarrassment, or panic. Take the financial sphere. First came the era of unregulated optimism: growth at all costs, cheap credit, inflated confidence, then the inevitable collapse. And suddenly, the same institutions that encouraged reckless expansion demanded austerity, restriction, and moral lectures about responsibility. This isn't strategy. This is whiplash economics. And the shockwaves don't stop at their borders. Developing countries get hit with currency devaluation, rising interest rates, and new conditions on trade, consequences of a drama they never asked to be part of. Or look at social dynamics. One decade, Western media and universities export the doctrine of absolute individual freedom with no caveats. Do what you want, say what you want, identity is fluid, norms are flexible. The next decade, institutions slam the brakes and embrace hyper-regulation of language, behavior, and belief. Suddenly, everything is offensive, everything is political, and ordinary people find themselves punished for opinions that were considered mainstream only a few years before. That's not moral evolution, that's moral turbulence. And then there's the criminal landscape. For years, the mantra was tough on crime, resulting in over-policing, mass incarceration, and rigid sentencing. Then came the guilt-driven reversal: abrupt decriminalization, relaxed enforcement, and hesitant policing driven by fear of public backlash. Both extremes created unsafe environments, and both were products of emotion rather than long-term planning. Citizens bounce between feeling over-policed and under-protected, never sure which version of justice they're going to get next. The world, knowingly or unknowingly, keeps orbiting this emotional pendulum. When Western culture glorifies aggression and dominance, global politics follow. When the West suddenly embraces vulnerability, apology, and moral softening, the same global institutions reverse themselves, often incoherently. It's like being forced to dance to the rhythm of a drummer who keeps changing tempo without warning. And now we're entering the age of Overcorrection 2.0, a global response shaped not just by moral conviction, but by fear of being labeled backward. Every remnant of xenophobia, hypernationalism, outdated gender norms, or traditionalist ideology is being targeted worldwide, sometimes thoughtfully but often performatively. Countries rush to rewrite laws, redefine identity, and restructure public spaces just to avoid appearing like they're stuck in the West's old mistakes. What makes this particularly unstable is that the interpretations are inconsistent. A country might copy Western social reforms, but apply them without the infrastructure or historical context that made them viable in the West. Another country might enforce new norms with punishments harsher than anything Western societies would ever consider. Some places adopt Western ideals to impress global investors. Others do it to avoid sanctions or diplomatic embarrassment. None of it emerges from organic cultural growth. It's reaction, pressure, and imitation. And this brings us to the personal level: the you in the Western overcorrection and you. You are living in a world where certainty is constantly being replaced by its opposite. What was considered progressive a few years ago is now outdated. What was considered traditional is now unacceptable. Institutions that once demanded bold expression now demand careful self-censorship. Even your online presence is shaped by these swings. One algorithm pushes provocative freedom, another punishes you for expressing it. Understanding these cycles is no longer an intellectual luxury. It's a survival instinct. Because in a world fixated on signaling virtue rather than practicing wisdom, the calm, grounded thinker becomes the rarest resource. While everyone else gets yanked around by the latest overcorrection, you get to stand still, observe the pattern, and choose your own direction instead of inheriting someone else's panic. In the end, stability won't come from the West swinging back yet again. It will come from individuals like you, refusing to get caught in that momentum.